Today I want to talk about love. Yay. I just watched a video by Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Buddhist Zen master, whom I always feel is still with us, despite him having passed on a while ago. But it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like he's right here. So he talked about the 4 elements of true love, which are compassion, or in Chinese it's called 慈. He translates as friendship, or I actually forgot his exact translation, but in Chinese it's 慈, which is compassion, and 悲, which is it actually means suffering, but 慈悲 together means compassion, so understanding. And you know what, I'm doing actually a really bad job summarizing it. You guys should just watch that video. Okay. The 3rd element is 喜, which is joy. And the 4th aspect is equanimity, or evenness. Basically, inclusiveness is how he translates it, which is not having particular love for one but excluding others, right? So I wanted to add to this because I'm only saying what they sound like in Chinese because I think, the Buddhist tradition, like in Vietnam, which is what he's Vietnamese, I like he learned the Chinese writing for it, but the original words are probably in Sanskrit. So, but I understand the Chinese part, so I'm using that. But there's 2 other Chinese concepts that I thought would be interesting to share. Hold up, I just had a pen right here. Yeah. And in Chinese, the first word I want to talk about is qing. Qing. And the second is yi. Together, qingyi. Which is different from, so love is directly translated as ai, love. But qing means something different. I've tried to explain to people what qing means. Qing means something like affection, attachment, feeling, right? Feeling. Yi means loyalty, brotherhood. Like, this is like the bro bond. I've explained this in the Chinese philosophy video, but both of these terms are difficult to translate. So qing, if we're gonna write the pinyin for it, which will still not help many of you pronounce it, qingyi, and love is just ai. So this is not the same as ai, but I like to talk about this because I think this is a very Chinese concept. It's a very, I want to say Eastern, but it's definitely like a Chinese concept, very classically Chinese, versus ai, which honestly most Chinese people never even say. At least traditionally in families, you don't grow up saying I love you, like you don't even hear parents ever say I love you. So people, oh no, I just stained my sheet. So parents never talk about ai, or ai is not like nowadays young people probably say that all the time, but like I love this, I love that, I love you, blah blah. But qingyi traditionally is qing, so attachment. So what's interesting to me is in the Western concepts of love, right? Oftentimes it feels like, how do I say it? It almost feels like it doesn't go deep enough in any sense, like romantic, friendship, because of the lack of qingyi, or the feeling, attachment aspect to it, the care. Qing also I could probably translate as care. So it's like very nuanced. If I just give it a particular example, like for example, one time I was in the hospital because I injured myself, and I had the surgery, and I like the person, like beyond like, other than my father, who flew in the next day, there was one person who I actually really wanted to see. Like, just this one person. I didn't bother telling most people, like, even people in the same city. I didn't tell them. There's just one person. And he never came. Like, later on, I saw, like, he was, like, he never told me this, but, like, I assume, like, based on what he wrote, it was, like, oh, I'm scared, I'd be, like, blah, blah. But anyway, I told him this later, but I was, like, that really, I was, like, that made me feel like you don't care about me, right? And he was, like, oh, no, that's not what it, but, like, you know, by that point, which was, you know, a year later, by that point, it was, like, already damaged. Like, I just didn't feel like he didn't have my back. He wasn't there for me. But in the traditional concept of qingyi, this wouldn't happen. It's almost like in the Western concept, if you're not romantically attached or if you're not a particular dynamic, then, you know, if it's not like, well, I need you, well, like, I love you, you love me. Like, if it's not like something like that, or like, oh, we're like, you know, it almost seems like a transactional or utilitarian or like kind of like a thing. But in the Chinese concept, if you have qingyi, it's almost like a familial, it's a bond that goes beyond these surface ties. It's almost like it doesn't matter if we haven't talked in months. It doesn't matter if we're not in a relationship. It doesn't matter if, you know, we just had a fight or whatever it is, or like we don't talk to each other. It's like the depth of feeling, emotion, and attachment, care for the person is still so strong. Or it could be even platonic. It's like the brotherhood. Like, I have friends, like brothers. I call them brothers, but we're not actually blood related. But literally one of them, I haven't seen him in 10 years. I literally have not seen him 10 years. We talk maybe once a year, maybe. Call once a year. He has kids, like, he has a whole life. I have my whole life. We don't, like, you know, but he's my brother. It's that feeling. It's that feeling. So it's like when I just saw him, like, last, it's like nothing changed. Because he's, like, my brother, you know? Like, if I need anything, like, he would not hesitate. Like, I wouldn't ask, but he, like, if I need it, he wouldn't hesitate, give me tens of thousands, right? And to give. And he would give his friend that. He told me, like, he gave his friend, like, not even on a close enough bond like we are, like, just like a friend, acquaintance person. He lent him money, which was never returned. But in his concept, if you lend a friend money, it's okay. Like, they, like, oftentimes in Chinese culture, like, they don't return it, and that's just expected. And I was like, huh. But I mean, not all the time, but at least he's like magnanimous enough. Like, he's like, okay, tens of thousands. So it's like, it's not a question. It's just not a question. So that's the kind of bond, the care we're talking about here. qing, that's that feeling. Yi, the feeling of loyalty, duty, brotherhood, honor, virtue. So together, qingyi is like, we can separate it. You can separate qing and you can have yi. Like, they're separate concepts, but together, qingyi together is also a term that is like a combination of what I just talked about. It's a combination of love, affection, loyalty, feeling, care, attachment, bonding, brotherhood, friendship, virtue, honor, all of those things bonded together, is that feeling, which I would just directly translate as qingyi, as feeling and care for somebody. So for me, that aspect is, when you talk about love, what is true love? That's probably essential, I would say, because if you just have like the traditional which is the lovey, like like love, like the, I don't even know. Like, first, I was thinking about this. Like, I was like, is this love? Is that love? I was thinking about past experiences. I was like, is this? And it's always weird, because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's not love. That wasn't love. Oh, it wasn't love. And sometimes like, oh yeah, it was love. Yes, this feels like love. You know, and the thing is, it's kind of like a mute problem, because it's like, ultimately it doesn't matter. It just doesn't work that way, because if I intellectualize it, if I think about it, basically, it's already not what it is, because it's just a feeling. It's a feeling, and it's more than a feeling. It's also a state of consciousness. It's a state of being. So like, to have to quantify or measure or to compare or to like think about love is already cutting ourselves off from what it is, which is, which is undefinable. It's like God. It's like you can talk about it, but you won't know it. And the people who talk about it, they can't tell you what it is. You either have it, feel it, or you don't know. So that's love. And but conceptually, why I think qingyi is interesting is because, like, that's the aspect that I think actually makes love pure, that makes love true and lasting. That honestly I find missing in much of the dynamics in the West. I don't know what it is. It's like it's interesting because I think many people feel this. Like my sister felt this. Like I didn't really talk to her about this, but she once wrote this essay thing that was like she understood what true friendship was when she was in China, like with her dorm mates there, and you know I just think it goes deeper. There's it just that feeling, the bond, it just feels like it goes deeper. Like you would do more for each other essentially. Um, you know, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, I mean, there's a lot of things. There's many things which I appreciate about Western culture, about the West, about, my values and upbringing on this side. But if I'm just talking about the things that I appreciate about, and I know there's like also a bunch of flaws and dark aspects, but if we're talking about like what I appreciate about Chinese culture and friendship and loyalty and all of that, it just goes so deep. Like because it's the culture is traditional, like because it extends thousands of years, and these are values, these are culture. So, for example, in the classic Meng, or many classics, you read stories about virtuous people. What is virtue? 君子, right? 君子之道. You have these virtuous men heroes and virtuous women. And let me just give an example of like what loyalty is. Like, for example, a woman betrothed, like she fell in love with a man, and he promised basically his hand. Like basically they were promised like to be engaged, even though they just like met each other essentially. And then they were like, but it was like whatever, love at first sight, whatever it was, they were both like committed to this. But then he like left, and then like some people have spread rumors about her, and her being basically like untrue, or like her being kind of like promiscuous. So he kind of had all these insecurities and doubts. And then you know what she did when he came back? She slit her throat or something crazy like that. She like basically was like bleeding to death in his arms. He was like crying his heart out, and she was like, I just wanted to prove myself to you or whatever. She's like, I don't need this. I don't need this. There you go. I died to prove how pure and loyal I am. Anyway, why did I give that example? I don't know. All I'm saying is, yeah, I'm saying that people would die for each other. People die for each other. People sacrifice for each other, and that's something that like my parents have shared with us. It's like, in these like Western relationships, a lot of time, or like let's just say modern, right? Like modern day. And I'm not even saying I'm even better than this, because I'm saying like, oh, they're all like that. I can do this. Like, it's like I don't know if, but like, yeah, because people sacrifice for each other, and what they notice about like relationships now and people, I guess in their eyes, everyone's just more selfish. Like not to name names, but someone like yeah, like long-term relationship, very long-term. Like to me, I'm like, wow, like I would never be able to be on something that long, because I either know from the beginning like this will work, this will not work, but it will not take me years to realize. But she was on something for years, and for the man at the end to be like, oh, just kidding, I don't want a life here in the US. I would actually go back to my original country, or like I just don't want to be. And that's like, what were you doing, man? Like, what were you doing, man? Yeah, so I mean it's like complicated, I guess, but it's just like, I don't know. It's like if you care about someone, like yeah, like are you like would you want to build a life? I mean, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I'm not to say, but let's just say I just think there's something I really admire about their love back in the day. The stuff, the commitment, the loyalty, the purity of culture, the purity of people, the purity of souls. You know, there's certain idealism, there's a commitment, and yeah, seriousness. In Chinese 叫认真。哦，认真二字，凡事就怕认真二字。Like if you're serious about something or someone, and you're just saying that like we are afraid of everything can basically be conquered with seriousness, of intention. So it's like, you know, which I admire. Again, I kind of aspire to have that, because I find this is a trap of modern day I guess dynamics. Is like everyone, if you're sunken to too much if you're sunk in too much frivolity, and I guess you just don't want to be in it. You don't want to be in the whole dynamic, the dating or like whatever, to be too like, you know, because it turns you into someone who's like who loses that purity of soul. It just which is essential to, I think, actually finding something close to love, or like being able to treat people with love, because it's about a seriousness of intention. And again, this could be purely platonic, but it's just the aspect. What I mean by purity is the lack of manipulativeness, the lack of guile, cunning, like manipulation, like calculating, like wanting strategies, like wanting something from someone. What I mean, like what I love about the pure aspect is just doing something out of feeling, like loving something because of a soul, like how a child loves, right? They don't love. I mean, some like they learn very quickly how to manipulate your emotions, like even babies, but or we can say animals, right? Or animals also can be very manipulative. But you got my point. It's a feeling of just wanting to, you know, pour out affection without needing to you know, get something from you, or to which is essential in real bonds, because humans can always feel that deception, that quality of insincerity is what I mean. To be sincere. I was in a creative video called Be Sincere, but I didn't feel like lecturing on it. Especially when I feel like that's something that I also need to be more intentional about, is to always be sincere. Is something, a great lesson I've learned over the past decade, because it seems tempting, it seems easy to, you know, do things, you know, like ha 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 ha, or like to not be serious, to almost like, yeah, to play with things, but it's or to just like, you know, go through life like carelessly, I guess is the alternative, is to be careless with your own feelings, with other people's feelings. And after enough suffering, you realize that you know, I don't want to lead life. Like, I want to carry myself. I want to treat myself, first of all, with respect, and then to treat the people around me, hopefully, with greater intention. Like, not, but that's something you learn only through hard lessons. But let's circle back to the qingyi aspect, and why this is so important. because that qingyi determines makes all the difference in whether or not you are able to show up for somebody when they need it, or when you can be of help, when you can be, you know, in service of somebody, even a stranger, when they can give you nothing. Because people are too utilitarian, they're too cold and calculating and self-serving. Ultimately, it's like, oh, if I can't, what am I gonna get? If I'm not gonna get sex, if I'm not gonna get a long-term relationship, if I'm not going to get this benefit or whatever, it's like, why do I bother? Like, why do I want to care for this person? Or if there's a stranger, it's like, okay, yeah, so like if I'm not gonna see them again, so why would, you know? But to do things out of humanity, out of that sense of care for anybody, right? Your friends, also your so-called enemies, people who you don't agree with, to be able to serve, right? That would go deeper. That is the bond that goes deeper. So I think ultimately that is the aspects that I would actually call love, is the aspect of unconditionality. When you're able to care, show care, to love somebody, regardless of anything, whether or not they've hurt you, whether or not they've done this. And it's very difficult. I think it's actually easier. It's, for me personally, and I see this in other people, it's like, it's actually a lot easier to do this for a stranger and for, you know, than for the people who are supposed to be the closest to us, because of bad habits, ingrained patterns of behavior, our trauma, our past pain, our wounds, etc., inability to face ourselves, lack of courage, fear, all of these things, insecurities, wrong lessons learned. So, you know, so it's understandable, but it's at least that's why I find that's a huge block in current modern day relationships. And I would say, I mean, like these Western values have spread to the East, by the way. So when I say like Western relationships, you see them very much in Asian cultures too, because they've become very westernized, commercialized, blah 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 blah, very materialized. But let's just, so when I say West versus East, we can also use the paradigm. We can use, how about material versus spiritual? And a material dynamic, it's too shallow. The love is just too it's too conditional, transactional, too it's so dissatisfying. So when you see what is divorce, when you see people being so disconnected, disillusioned, cut off, it's because they're cut off from the source of love, which is God. They don't have love in their relationships because they don't know what love is as a human in their own lives. When you can't carry love for first within yourself, and then with anybody, with nature, with a tree, with a flower, with a child, with a dog, if you can't, with a bird, if you can't feel love for the sky, for the moon, for the beach, if you can't feel for music, if you can't feel love for all these things, it's like, you know, you're already cut off from this dimension. And then how can you expect to find this in a human with as much problems and baggage as you? And then you're gonna create something very messed up because of that lack of deeper dimension, the spiritual aspect, which is qing, which is yi, which requires the aspect that is actually platonic in love, the aspect of deep care. It's almost like a familial, it goes beyond, basically goes beyond to the core of a human soul, goes beyond eros, goes beyond passion, lust, sex, attraction, you do this for me, I do, it goes beyond all that to basic human care and love for another person, for anything, for a living thing, and even for inorganic matter as well. But it's a feeling, it's a state of consciousness, it's a feeling inside you that you carry, which you can have with being 认真, right? The seriousness of intention. So yeah, and this is it's not like bound, it's not defined, right? And so it almost seems impossible for you to call certain things love or whatever not love, because it doesn't fully fit into your image of what this is or is not. And yet the feeling is there. The feeling is there. The bond is there. That is what qingyi means. The qing is there. The feeling is there. The attachment is there. The care is there. It's almost a feeling like it's like, this is so crazy because it shouldn't be like this. And yet you feel like, yeah, I could die for this person. Like I would do crazy things, because there's that feeling of, there's that care, there's that attachment. So that's the qing. All right, that's a qing that, like, despite you having been in so many fights, so many like pains and struggles, that's the feeling, that's a bond that when you hear something like, oh, you know, I'm in the hospital right now, that person would fly like 7,000 miles to basically be by your bedside the next day to hold your hand. Like that is the depth of connection. That, yeah, that, you know, that's what we're living for. So anyway, these are some thoughts. But the aspect of joy too, the aspect of joy is something that Thich Han, great master, really emphasizes, which is that, yeah, love should make each other happy. And that's something we tend to forget sometimes, right? If you're in this dynamic that's not super healthy, or like you didn't grow up with healthy models, basically role models, and you have been in bad relationships or bad dynamics, then there's this whole thing which I really disliked, so I don't really want to react to that, because for a while I was reacting to it and getting all sucked into negativity myself. There's a lot of discourse on this more like Machiavellian, darker, kind of really toxic and manipulative way of treating people like your objects of desire, whatnot. And you have to basically think of it this way. It's like, if you don't want to treat your closest friend, your dearest darling, like your closest associate, the people you respect and look up to the most, your grandfather, your child, your dog, your sweetheart, if you don't want to treat these people, your mother, your father, I don't know, if you don't want to treat these people like this, why would you treat the person you love this way? Right? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, if I don't want to make this person, it's like, and then sometimes I catch myself doing these things too, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not right. I'm like, this is so far from what it should be, which is 认真, which is that feeling of like truth and purity and seriousness, and you know, it's just so not it. But you're like, how did it become like this? So I think that's a cultural thing, right? It's very much a cultural thing. Because people downplay the spirit, the idealistic aspects, but idealism, feeling, and ideology, right? You shouldn't be fanatical, but these things have created revolutions, have changed the world, just based on an idea, just based on a passionate spark, a feeling, right? A feeling can make one defeat 10, can make the weak overthrow the strong, can make the poor revolt against the rich, has fomented rebellion, revolution, great change, and throughout human history. So that's just based on a feeling, an idea. And the spiritual aspect of it is, yeah, mind over matter. So what I'm trying to say is, yeah, with too much materialism and hedonism and I guess much of current cultural values, which is getting better, because there's an influx of yoga and Eastern traditional ideals, yoga, greater actual spiritual pursuit and practice. people are going deeper, they're going more within and actually digging up, what do I want from life? What is actual truth? What is actual connection? What is actual meaning? What is actual love? And you eventually find, first of all, you don't need to be in a relationship. You don't need to be in a traditional romantic bond for you to experience that. And this is why the greatest monks and saints have not chosen that path of maybe leading a family life, because it's not necessary. Because again, love is ultimately, it's not so much even about another person, it's more about yourself. And you know, that's been part of the test that I've been having to face really recently as well. Is I can be very spiritual by myself, obviously, when I can be by myself meditating in the Himalayas, you know, in my own little retreat that I have for myself. I can be as spiritual as I want, but thrown in the friggin' tumultuous waves of life, oh man, like that is a test, that is a challenge which I have failed plenty and fall on my face. What I've been shown recently is, you know, it's very difficult. So in a sense, it's like it's our choice. Like you might want to actually retreat into your little private gardens if you need to, like if you need to learn how to cultivate that, because honestly, thrown into this worldly environmental atmosphere, it has not suited me. Like I have felt like at first I was like, oh, I'm fine, like I'm, you know, and like week after week I'm like getting torn, slowly worn, and I'm like really ready. I'm like, now I'm okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for this break. I'm really ready. I'm really ready to go back to my retreat now. Anyway, but yeah, to be able to access that higher dimension, the deeper dimension of love throughout that is a practice. And so yeah, today, like having to practice that, like they sent me an email, I reacted with also an angry email. They sent me like not the most understanding, kindest email, and I reacted also in a very reactive way. And then today we just all let that go and we all smiled at each other a little forcibly. Today we all smiled at each other. But that's a qingyi as well, even though that's not quite what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is a few, these are some thoughts. And yeah, another day I'll probably go more into this a little bit, because there's tons of stories I could share. I love watching these ancient dramas. Like I watched my favorite shows ever. I watched like most of them, like a lot of episodes, like 5 times, like some series like more than 3 times, like ancient, I read the books, I watched the dramas, and the original dramas from like 1980s, 1990s, not the new stuff, because there's a part of me I really admire that. I mean, yes, there's a lot of brutality. Human consciousness was not very developed back in the day, right? This is, if we just rewind couple thousand years, like very savage still, we may use that term, like a lot of bloodshed, brutality, but again, like the duality part of it is like there's so much purity of feeling, there's so much true loyalty and brotherhood. Like people actually die for each other. Brothers that meet each other, like commit to being brothers for life. It's not just a question of words, it's truth. They die for each other. Just that depth of feeling and bondship, which honestly, yeah, like I'm saying all this, but I'm not here to teach you, because I don't have that myself, right? But it's like something that I look that I like, that I admire, like I aspire to. But yeah, but I find that mostly for a lot of it, I don't see that so much in Western. Like it's interesting. Like it's not to say like I had like, you know, I had very close friends in the US, but it just feels different. Like right? You have like best friends, so-called, who like, you know, you could talk about many things with. You almost feel like you could talk. It feels like it's more like you could talk about a lot of things. But when it comes down to it, like, who will have your back? This is something that I find kind of missing. Like, I find that in my Chinese dynamics relationships, even people who are not that close to me, even strangers, like, they have my back just a lot more. I can just say, like, for example, in China, like, when I meet a stranger, it's not uncommon at all. It's not just because I'm a woman or young, or if they think I'm attractive or whatnot. It's not that at all. It's like people like, right. And I find this in other cultures too, like India, and like, you know, I see this in many cultures, but you know, it's total stranger, and you know, it's not uncommon at all. They would pay for all your food. They treat you to meals. A lot of very generous, like hospitable acts. They would drive you around the whole day, just to be a good host, just to be a good first, you know, friend. And you know, it's not uncommon at all. Or even complete strangers, like in villages, like, you know, offer you my home. My entire home is open to you. It's just warm. And uh of course there's a lot of shadiness. It's in modern day too, a lot of shadiness, and historically a lot of infighting, a lot of betrayal, and you know, politicking. Yeah, like you can't, you wouldn't be able to have had the Cultural Revolution and other various shenanigans if not for these other aspects too in the culture. But these things go hand in hand. So yeah, you have all these things, the corrupt side, and then you also have these like really virtuous ideals, the idealistic side, which I see and I'm very touched by. So and yeah, okay, my voice really hurts now. I haven't talked. I need to save my voice. Okay. Bye. Take care, everybody. Bye.